Another kind of tough call today. This one was for a fall with injury and non-responsive person. Um, when we arrived on scene, it was evident that this person who was elderly had probably had a stroke. They had been lying out in the open, and their partner had said that they'd been out there from somewhere between 10 a.m. and the time of the call, which was about 5 p.m. So it's unknown exactly when they had the accident, but they'd been there for a while and had signs of vomit on their cheek. Um, and they were alert but non-responsive, had a gaze that was fixed to the left, and they couldn't really control their motor skills. But when we did get them flipped over onto their back, they reached out and grabbed my hand. Um, couldn't squeeze or anything though. And I had brought the trauma bag out, so while the chief and Randy were working on getting his condition ascertained, um, I got out the blood pressure cuff and the pulse ox, and they took readings, which blood pressure came back in relatively normal numbers, kind of erratic pulse, but the pulse ox couldn't get a reading, probably because of how cold the guy was. Um, and it was definitely a challenge. There were a lot of people around that were uh, observing and concerned. Um, there were like 4 blankets on him when we got there. So we had to take all of that stuff off, and after they had gotten the readings taken care of, um, they sent me to get a spine board from the North Star ambulance once it had arrived. So I brought one of those back, and then they said they needed a neck collar, and so I ran over to the truck to grab one, but one of the North Star paramedics had one on hand, so they got that one out and took care of it. Um, Once we had done that, we lifted the spine board onto the gurney and loaded them up in the ambulance, where they sedated and intubated them and put them onto 100 liters of oxygen. I wanted to stand in and observe, but I was told not to be in the vehicle, so I had to stay outside during the actual treatment. Um, I know it would have been pretty rough stuff to see, but I was hoping for the learning opportunity. But instead, I ended up being out there and occasionally spoke with some family. Uh, Tried to help calm some tensions of the situation, because they were definitely stressed and worried, and without knowing yet which hospital they were going to take him to, they were pretty worried. It it definitely had set them on edge, but I tried to give them what good news and reassurances I could. Um, the the guys on the ambulance had more than 50 years of experience between them. They're gonna take as good a care of him as they can. Um, the chief knew the guy personally, um, called him by name. So I don't know what the full history is, but it was definitely close. Um, and so yeah, that was a challenge. But once they had got him sedated and intubated, um, the family indicated hospital of preference was approved, so they took him on over there. And once we were able to communicate to the family where they were going to take him, the family member started calling all sorts of others, letting them know, and got ready to follow behind, and we cleared the scene. Um, that one was kind of tough. Um, I don't know if there's anything more I could have done or I could have been any more sharp on that one. Um, Maybe knowing where that neck collar is on the North Star ambulance. But I think that kind of comes with familiarity. I probably should have just gone to our own ambulance and grabbed it off of there because I knew where the ones were on that one. Um, but it didn't end up being a problem since the other person had one on hand. Um, yeah, definitely a rough EMS call. Never want to see families in distress like that or hear them kind of beating themselves up over not noticing things faster, which you can't control that. Didn't really know what to say to make things better, so I just kind of kept my mouth shut. But yeah, it, it's a thing. And so another reminder that I really want to get that EMR training as soon as possible and be sharp and ready for these guys. Um, but this was one of the first times where I actually did something on an EMS call, nothing big, just go get the spine board. But that's something. And yeah, hope he's going to be all right. But that's it for today. Um, Sometimes being a firefighter EMS person is rough. And despite the challenges, being there for those guys when they need it, um, it makes a difference. They call for help, and we're there to help. So if you ever thought about getting into this kind of business, doing volunteer firefighting or EMS first responder stuff, it is hard. Um, but it makes a difference and it's worth it. So if you're thinking about it, go for it. And you will not regret it. Um, with that, um, I'll leave a link to the Telegram as usual in case you guys want to leave any feedback or critiques for what I've mentioned here today, or um, otherwise have anything you'd like to share, or just join the community and support the journey. Otherwise, have a great day, and I'll see you guys on the next call.